Hello, hello, hello. What is going on, everybody? Happy New Year, and welcome to another edition of the weekly Astro Forecast live here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So, this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So, if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my loves, it is a new day, it is a new week, it's a new month, and it is a new year. And this energy feels real new. I don't know about you, but it's feeling pretty good so far as it is the second day into this fiscal new year. All right, so hopefully y'all are doing well. Hopefully the holiday season has treated you well. The energies have been a bit heavy at times. I feel like many of us have been going through this purging sort of energy where we're getting rid of what we no longer need. We're, engaging in some much needed healing, and hopefully we're all starting this fiscal new year out on the right foot. All right. So let's get into it. All right. So before we get into the details, of course, housekeeping and announcements. So if you are joining me here on the live this morning, thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate you. Hopefully you get what you came for. All right. And so feel free to say hello in the chat on your way in and hit that like button as well. It really helps the channel. It helps the algorithm understand that you like this kind of stuff. And so it can disseminate this kind of information and more of my content to more people who really need it. So definitely hit that like button. Thank you so much. And so let me shout out who is here already. So we've got Respectful Cicada. Hello and Happy New Year. Scorpio Muse. Thank you so much for your beautiful message. And as always, we've got Ramel. What's going on? All right. And so if you are joining me on the replay, I appreciate you just as much. All right. And hopefully you get everything that you came for too. Hopefully you get the enlightenment, the clarity, the confirmation that hopefully you're looking for at this time. Or maybe you're just learning something new. All right. And if you like what you see, like what you hear, definitely hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell, because there's a lot more where this is coming. All right. So hopefully you guys are doing well. Hello, Ultra Instinct. Thank you so much for joining. And also, let me know if you guys like this new time. I think I mentioned this in my last live. I might just switch to Monday mornings to do the weeklies. I don't know. I'm actually going to do a poll today on my community tab. So definitely hit up my community tab to see the polls that you can vote to figure out what time works best. Because I know at first I was doing the Monday evenings at 7 Eastern. Then I had to move them back to 9:30. But I think I'm liking this new morning time. So let me know what you guys think. And of course, it's always on replay on my channel. So if you can't make any of those times or either of those times, you can always watch the replay. All right. So that is housekeeping. And in terms of announcements, still doing my 2024 annual readings. Time slots are limited. I'm only offering it until the middle of January. It's basically 2024 in a nutshell for you based on your natal chart. It's a written report. Plus, it is a 60-minute online consultation where you can ask as many questions as you like. Plus, I pull cards from Spirit. It's a whole vibe. Again, I'm only offering this service until mid-January, so definitely sign up as soon as possible. Link is in the description box below. Plus, it is also tagged to this video. All right. And also, maybe you just haven't had your natal chart read, right? Because maybe I'm getting ahead of myself and you kind of just want to figure out who you are. You want to really understand your natal chart. As always, I offer my signature service, which is called the Blueprint. So I will also tag this to the video if you are interested in that as well. And exciting news. So all 12 Zodiac sign videos for 2024 are now out. All right. They are now live. So they are done by rising sign. So check out your rising sign so you can understand what you can anticipate for this coming year. All right. This is definitely for all of us a year of growth and expansion, all right? And as we continue on our journeys, we're going to be met with more opportunities to grow and expand. It's going to be an exciting year. It's a universal 8 year in numerology. So many of us will be seeing the fruits of our labor come to fruition. It's going to be a year of work, right? I think a lot of people are saying that, because numerologically speaking, 8 is the number of abundance. I feel like people are like, oh, this year is all about money. It's all about money. It's all about material stuff. And it is to a certain extent. However, it's the hard work that precedes all of those things that this 8 year really is about. It's not like money is just going to drop out of the sky if you haven't been doing anything, right? It's all about, working hard, working diligently, and seeing the fruits of the hard work that you've put in. 8 is also a number of Saturn. So, of course, Saturn has everything to do with hard work, but it also has to do with karma. So, many of us who feel like we've been trudging through the mud, and not even through 2023, but maybe even before that, I think a lot of us are going to start to see the wheels start to turn in a different direction. We're going to see more movement. Like I said, we're going to see the fruits of our labor finally starting to materialize, right? And always with karma, we attach a moral sort of connotation to karma, but karma is literally just cause and effect. So whatever you've done in the past, you're going to start to see that come back around this year for better or for worse, right? But I get it. I get the feeling that if you are tapped into this transmission and you are hearing the sound of my voice, I think that many of you have really been doing the work. And so I feel like 2024 is going to be a year for the books. I think it's going to be a year where, again, we really start to see things turning around and we're starting to see things materialize. So I'm excited about it. I don't know about you. Let me know in the chat. What are you expecting for 2024? Are you expecting anything? If you're watching this on the replay, hit the comment section and let me know, what are your expectations for 2024? If you want to share some of your goals, if you want to share some of your aspirations, feel free to do that as well. All right. And hello, Linda J. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so happy to see you, and Happy New Year as well. All right. So, as always, if you are someone who is interested in your horoscope, definitely consider signing up to my subscription service. You can do that by texting ZODIAC to the number 855-826-5544. You will get your weekly horoscope texted to you every Monday. People seem to really like it. Short, sweet, to the point. Again, if you're interested, that is ZODIAC to the number 855-826-5544. All right. And as always, if you are someone who is new to astrology and you have no idea what's going on, or maybe you're not so new to astrology, but you realize that it's a lot, right? It's a lot to commit to memory. It's a lot of information. Don't worry, I've got you covered. So I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which is essentially a cheat sheet which gives you all the relevant information you need to know to start studying astrology, mainly the 4 pillars of astrology, which are the planets, the houses, the signs, and the aspects. All right. So it's an 11-page PDF document that gives you just a quick summary on all of these things so that you can start committing them to memory, because regardless of what anyone says or doesn't say, astrology is a science. It's also divination. It's also, a lot of other things, but at its base, at its core, it is a science. And like any science, requires a good deal of study. So with that being said, I created this cheat sheet to help you start studying. So if you're interested, link will be in the description box below. All right. So let's get into it. 2024, specifically this first week of 2024, and how is it looking? So there isn't too much going on this week. However, what I will say is 2 things. Number 1, we've got Mars changing signs. And we're definitely going to feel this probably viscerally, because Mars is very much concerned with physical energy. And with Mars making a move into Capricorn this week, I feel like many of us are going to be really motivated, especially if you're someone who has set resolutions, or let me not call them resolutions, right? Because I think that resolutions kind of has a negative connotation. If you're someone who's been setting goals, if you're someone who's like, all right, I'm starting this new year, it's like, I want to do this, that, and the third, all right? I feel like Mars in Capricorn is really going to have you motivated and kind of give you that boost of energy to really start these new things, or even continue these new things with sort of an enhanced sense of motivation and drive. All right. So I feel like this is going to be an energy shift where we're actually really going to feel it viscerally. All right. And as far as the transits this week, it's going to be a week that may be feeling a little, I'm not going to say tough, but I feel like many of us are going to be feeling a little bit of resistance, or perhaps feeling a little stifled, all right? we don't have many transits, but the transits that we do have are probably going to have us. I'm not going to say like, okay, I just said that Mars going into Capricorn. It's like, okay, you're going to be motivated to work on your goals, your resolutions, and you're going to have this sense of motivation. But I feel like the astrology of the week is also going to have you met with a little bit of resistance. And that resistance could be perhaps outside circumstances. That resistance can be perhaps some of your emotional baggage that's sort of standing in your way or creating challenges for you with moving forward. For some, it may be your sense of self, right? And you're sort of in this transition period between who you were and who you're becoming. And as you forge ahead, it's like these two versions of yourself are trying to battle it out to see who's going to win, right? So it can be a week that may feel a little arduous, a little, requiring us to perhaps put the pedal to the metal a little bit more. But whenever we have these kind of transits, it's not for no reason, right? Like whenever we're met with resistance or challenges or obstacles, these are character building moments. These are times when we strengthen our character, strengthen our resolve, and figure out what we really want, right? Because of course, we all know that life is not roses and rainbows, especially if you're on a spiritual journey. It feels like thunderstorms and tsunamis a lot of times, right? And you're just like, when is this over? When am I going to finally feel some relief, right? And it's like you realize that you find relief because you create it, right? You pivot, you change your perspective, and you figure out, or at least you reflect on the lessons that these difficult times are showing you, rather than just wallowing in what's actually going on. So this is not to say that this is going to be a week of doom and gloom. Far from it. Again, I feel like we're all going to have this sort of renewed sense of motivation and drive this week, but when the rubber hits the road and we meet some obstacles, how are you going to handle these obstacles, especially the first week into the year, right? Like typically when you want to set your New Year's resolutions or when you want to make changes at this time of year, you're like, all right, you want to start off strong and you really want to get going, right? But sometimes the universe is like, all right, but understand that there are some road bumps. There's some bumps in the road and maybe even roadblocks along the way, right? And ultimately, that gets us to think about, is this what I really want? And am I committed to this journey? Roadblocks, detours, and all, right? So that's sort of what we're looking at in terms of an overview. So let's get into it and see exactly what this week is looking like for us. So first up, the highlights, of course. First up, we have what I like to call moving forward. And this is good news because Mercury just went direct yesterday on the 1st. All right. So Mercury has gone direct in Sagittarius. So we can get back to our regularly scheduled programs for the most part, right? Mercury is really going to be moving forward in the next week or so. So maybe that could also contribute to why this week may feel still a little off or maybe a little wonky, right? Mercury moving forward or at least turning direct yesterday really is going to have us, still experiencing a little bit of that Mercury retrograde energy, but we're finally moving out of that. Okay. And so with Mercury going direct in Sagittarius, this is everything to do with, better communication, being able to see the bigger picture, learning more without all of the interruptions and without all of the confusion and misunderstandings. All right. So that's one thing to look forward to. Then we have what I like to call heavy lifting, and this is Mars and Capricorn, like I was explaining before. Mars and Capricorn has a lot to do with work, right? And remember, I just said before, 2024 is a 8 universal year. I always get tripped up over saying numerologically, whatever it is. It is an 8 universal year, which has a lot to do with abundance, but it also has a lot to do with work. And Mars in Capricorn is definitely here to help us get to work, right? So this could be diligent work of all different kinds, but mostly physical work. Like, when people set the goal of getting fit in, the new year, like that's their New Year's resolution, either to build muscle or to lose weight. Mars in Capricorn is literally like the transit to help you do that. So if you are looking to do any of those type of things this year, now would definitely be the time to start. But it's also about strength and endurance. And Mars in Capricorn is a very interesting kind of transit, and I will expound on that in a little bit. But strength and endurance is not just physical strength and endurance. It can be mental strength and endurance. It can also be spiritual strength and endurance, depending on where Capricorn is in your chart. But that's sort of the star transit for this week. And then finally, we have what I like to call Let Your Light Shine. And this is Sun square Chiron. So, in terms of our self identity, who we think we are, how we express ourselves, that's really going to be emphasized this week with this particular transit. And everything that comes with self identity will be emphasized this week, for better or for worse, whether it's your confidence or lack thereof, your sense of power and control or lack thereof, for that matter. So, this is going to be an interesting transit to definitely start off the week, the month, and the year. All right, let's get into the week and see what we got going on. All right, so yesterday we had Mercury going direct in Sagittarius, Venus square Saturn, which I'll explain in a little bit, and the moon moves into Virgo. Thereafter today, we've got the moon moving into Libra. On Thursday, we've got the star of the week, which is Mars moving into Capricorn. On Friday, we've got the moon moving into Scorpio. On Saturday, we've got that Sun square Chiron transit I was just talking about. And then we close out the week on Sunday with the moon in Sagittarius. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so yesterday for the first of the year, we had Mercury direct in Sagittarius, which you will see at the top right-hand corner of the chart. You'll see Mercury at 22 degrees Sagittarius. And if you can squint your eyes really, I guess, you can see that S at the bottom of that red circle. That means that Mercury has stationed. So basically, Mercury is stationary as we perceive it from Earth, and it will begin to move forward, or at least it started to begin its forward movement yesterday. Then we've got Venus square Saturn. You will see Venus also at the top right-hand portion of the chart at 3 degrees of Sagittarius, and Saturn at the left-hand portion of the chart at 3 degrees of Pisces. All right. And then finally, we have the moon moving into Virgo. And you notice that at the right-hand portion of the chart with the moon at 14 degrees Virgo. All right, so let's chat. First up, Mercury direct in Sagittarius. Don't have to talk too much about that because we literally just experienced this last month. All right. So now that Mercury is no longer retrograde, things can get back to normal, especially when it comes to our ideas and our communication. And when Mercury is in Sagittarius, we see the bigger picture. We tend to be very optimistic. We tend to be hopeful. And we tend to sort of gloss over the details to view more of the bigger picture, right? And it gives us this sense of hope. I feel like the people that I've talked to, yesterday, as a matter of fact, I want to say 2 people actually said that. Like, they said that they feel hopeful for 2024. And that's a very good way to start off the new year. But that's definitely the energy signature of Mercury in Sagittarius. It's like you feel hopeful, you feel optimistic. It's like, all right, we've been through the mud, we've been through all of this craziness, and now we can sort of look to the sky, we can sort of look up, we can look forward and be hopeful about the future. I mean, even though this is obviously not the natural new year, right? And we don't have to beat a dead horse with that. But we have decided as a collective that January, even though it is the dead of winter, is our fiscal new year. And so it does have the energy of new beginnings, of starting over, of having a clean slate. And I love the fact that Mercury chose to go direct on the very first day of the year in a sign of Sagittarius, which is like, all right, this is what I want to achieve for myself for this new year. This is what I want this new year to be like, to feel like, for me to have, for me to experience, right? Sagittarius is all about experience. So we feel good about that. We feel hopeful. We feel optimistic. We feel like, all right, let's get this done. And so that's basically Mercury in Sagittarius. Now, Mercury is not going to spend a lot of time in Sagittarius because as it moves forward, it's going to go back into Capricorn. Or let me not say back into Capricorn. It's going to move forward into Capricorn again, right? Because we got a taste of this in December. And that's when we're going to get serious, right? We have this little stint of Mercury in Sagittarius where it's like, all right, I can do this. And then Mercury in Capricorn is going to be like, all right, are you ready to put in that work? Are you ready to put that plan together? Are you ready to put in the physical work, right? Mercury in Sagittarius to Capricorn, that's sort of what we're looking at for the month of January specifically, but more directly this week Be hopeful, be optimistic, allow yourself to dream. Don't limit yourself by saying, oh, I want this, but I don't think I can have it. It ain't the time for that shit right now. Right now is the time to think big. Right now is the time to really keep your eyes on the prize, but more importantly, keep your spirits up when it comes to that goal or that aspiration. All right. Then yesterday we also had Venus square Saturn. All right. And so this is one of those transits that can feel very frustrating. Venus has everything to do with love and money. Okay. And so those are typically the topics that we all tend to be really focused on, that we always tend to think about, and that we always want to know more about, right? And Venus is currently in Sagittarius, okay? And with Venus in Sagittarius, it's like you want to experience love. You want to have, your big picture of love, right? Or maybe even your big picture of money. Like, I want to do this, I want to do that, right? And then Saturn is kind of like, wait. Okay, fine, cool. You want to do all these big things, but what are your issues with respect to love and money? Or perhaps you've tried this before, or maybe you've tried this in the past, or you felt this way in the past and it didn't work out. And Saturn's kind of reminding you, remember when you tried to date this person before? Remember when you had these sort of standards when it comes to love? It didn't really work out last time. You think it's going to work out this time? Like, Saturn can kind of be, in those cartoons when you have like the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. Saturn tends to be the devil. And not that it's tempting you to do something wrong, but more so it's being realistic, okay? And so essentially when we have a transit like Venus square Saturn, it's showing you the realistic side of love and money, right? It can also put stress on your love life because either you or your partner are feeling some kind of way. Maybe you want some time alone. Maybe you're feeling like you're kind of in your feelings, or maybe you're really focused on what you want to do as an individual right now. So it can cause some isolation in relationships. Saturn, this kind of transit, Venus square Saturn, it can also like remind you that you've got a negative bank account right now. Like your bank balance is negative, or, your money situation is not necessarily where it wants to be, or money is really tight right now, right? And that can kind of get you in your feelings, right? Not the best way to start off the year. However, these type of transits, and this is what I was talking about before about the astrology for this week, about how it's a little bit of resistance, right? You've got these big ideas, you've got these goals. Maybe this is the year that you want to get married. Maybe this is the year that you want to be in a committed relationship, or maybe this is the year you want to pay off debt. Maybe this is the year you want to get a new job, change careers, whatever, right? This kind of transit is like, it's sort of like putting a wet blanket on your goals and plans. However, it's like, how committed are you to these things? But more so than that, in order to figure out where we're going, we have to be realistic in a sense about where we are. It's great to be optimistic. Actually, you should be, right? You shouldn't, like, whatever goals you have, you shouldn't approach them with a sense of dread, right? That's just going to prolong the process. But you kind of have to be realistic, right? You may have the goal of being a millionaire, and maybe you even want to achieve this goal this year, right? But if you don't have good money management skills, if you don't know, perhaps, if you don't have a plan in place on how to become a millionaire, that dream can seem very, very far-fetched, and almost like you might not be able to achieve it in this time frame because you're not exactly being realistic about where you are. So if you feel like you've got these ideas, these goals, these aspirations, but you don't currently like where you are, that's kind of a good thing. It shows you where you're starting from. It shows you what your ground zero is. So now you can put a plan in place. Everything about Saturn is about longevity. And you can't have longevity without some sort of a plan. You need that motivation, right? You need that fire of desire to want to get it done. But without a plan, it's like, well, what are you really doing? It's like having a full tank of gas, but you have no idea where you're going. So guess what? Sometimes you end up wandering aimlessly, going here, going there without any real, it's like you're in New York and you want to get to LA and you're driving, God bless you if you're trying to do that, because that sounds like hell on wheels, but I digress. Maybe this is, you want to get from New York to LA and you're like, yes, I'm going to have this whole road trip and it's going to be this whole experience, right? But you don't turn on the GPS. You don't even figure out which route to take. It could take you all year. You may not even get there. You may land in Houston. Like, it's an overly simplified analogy, but I'm pretty sure you get the point, right? This is like, okay, this is the perfect transit. This Venus square Saturn in conjunction with Mercury direct in Sagittarius, right? It's like this is the idea. Let's put a plan together, right? And that plan doesn't have to be necessarily a written out plan, but you kind of have to get your mind right with respect to what the hell you're doing. So let's say, Venus is love and relationships and all that good stuff. Let's say this is the year that you want to get serious about love. What has been standing in your way with respect to that? What has your relationship pattern been like, your dating patterns? Who are you? Like, one of the things that, and I'm about to go on a little tangent, so get comfortable. One of the things that we fail to realize in relationships is not even just like, okay, this is my type of person, this is the type of relationships I have. What is your relationship style as it pertains to you personally? Like, how do you relate to people? Maybe you're a very hyper type person and you've been dating people who are real muted or who try to mute your hyperactivity. Like, that may not work for the long run. Or maybe it's the opposite, right? We need to figure out what our personal, how do we relate to people? Or what even is our capacity to relate to people? That's the first step when it comes to relationships. And Venus square Saturn helps you figure that out. It kind of shows that to you by way of perhaps a challenge or an obstacle or a delay or something like that, or not necessarily getting what you want, but maybe a limited version of that, right? And that helps you figure all of that out. This may also require, I'm not going to say may not also, it requires work when it comes to relationships or finances, right? Like, Saturn is all about work. Saturn is the planet of hard work, but you get rewards for that hard work. And so now would be the time when you start to put in that work. And what better time than the first week of the new year, right? All right. And then moving on, we have the moon in Virgo. And I like this because I just talked about Venus and Saturn, right? And it's sort of being realistic about love and money. What better sign for the moon to be in than another realistic sign like Virgo? Virgo is all about getting your shit together, right? It's about getting organized, getting structured, making order out of chaos, right? And again, this perfect energy for this new year. It's like, all right, let me start by decluttering, whether it's decluttering your workspace, whether it's decluttering your home, whether it's decluttering your heart, your emotional body, your mind, right? Let me make sense of this so I can start this new year with a clean slate, with a fresh mind, with a new perspective on what I want to achieve, and with the drive and motivation to actually put that work in. Right. So again, I give these broadcasts so that you understand what the energy is so that you can start using it to your advantage. So this is the time to, like I said, get organized about what it is that you want to achieve. Right. If you haven't already, this is the time to really put your goals down on paper, figure out a way to achieve them, figure out what that first step needs to be, because Venus square Saturn will help you do that. Mercury direct in Sagittarius will get you to see the bigger picture. And the moon in Virgo is going to have you feeling like you want to do this. You want to get organized. You want to make sense of what all of these goals and ideas are for you. So this is what we're dealing with. We started this energy today. This energy is still at our disposal. We started this energy yesterday, I should say, on the 1st. This energy is still at our disposal. So if you haven't done this yet, today would be the perfect day to do so. Because again, the astrology, as always, supports you in whatever you're trying to do at this time. All right? So let's keep it moving. All right, so today is kind of a light day because we only have the moon moving into Libra. All right, and you will see that in the red circle at the bottom portion of the chart. That is actually going down this evening, right? So I love when the moon is in Libra because it's sort of lighthearted and it fosters being social, right? Libra is the charismatic character of the zodiac, right? And so when the moon is in Libra, we like to interact with people. We like to enjoy other people's company. It could also be a time when we focus on what's fair, what's equitable. We like to balance things out in our lives. I feel like that's the deeper level of Libra. But by and large, when the moon is in Libra, we just like to socialize, right? And maybe some of us are still doing that because, New Year's Eve was just the other night. Maybe you still have people in town, or maybe today is the day where you are really starting to get serious, right? Because I guess today would be the first day back for many people from, the holiday vacation and whatnot. So the other sort of good use of Moon and Libra energy is working with others, cooperation. And I also like this coupled with the other energy we got going on this week, because no man is an island, right? And maybe perhaps the goals that we have that we're setting for ourselves in this new year, maybe there are certain people that can help us out with that, right? Collaboration is pretty much always a good thing. So while you're putting your goals together, maybe it's time to figure out, okay, who can help me with this? Or maybe who can I include in these goals, right? You can go faster alone, but you go farther together. So maybe this is the time to figure out, who's on your team, building a team, figuring out how you could probably be of service to others, how you could help others with their goals at this time, right? But regardless, Moon and Libra fosters socializing. So if you can today, do a little bit of that. I'm pretty sure this is the day where everyone's happy New Year's-ing each other to death, right? People that you haven't talked to, shit like that. Happy New Year's emails, all that shit. That's very much Moon and Libra type energy, all right? So that's what we got going on today. Let's keep it moving. All right, next up on Thursday, we've got Mars moving into Capricorn, and you will see that in the middle of that red circle on the right-hand portion of the chart. On Thursday, Mars will be at 0 degrees of Capricorn. All right, and again, this is sort of the star transit of the week. All right. This is where we get very intentional about where we are putting our energy in a very practical sort of way. So you want to look to see where Capricorn is in your natal chart. This is where you're going to have a boost of energy, right? Or maybe even more motivation to start new things. Mars energy is all about initiation. Initiation in a bold, dynamic sort of way. So wherever Capricorn is in your chart, that's where you'll be experiencing that for about the next month or so, right? This is also a time where we get very deliberate on or with putting in work in certain areas of our lives. Like I said before, this is a great time to start something new. Now, again, Capricorn is all about longevity and time. And Mars in Capricorn is going to get you motivated, but understand that Mars energy is like a firecracker. It's like boom, and then it's done, right? So again, I don't know, something about weight loss, using the analogy of weight loss is just so, I don't know, it's just something I'm always stuck on because I feel like it explains everything in such a clear sort of way. Again, it's January 2nd. I'm sure the gym is packed to the brim right now with everyone who's like, yes, new year, new me, new body, all that bullshit, right? Mars and Capricorn is like, yes, we're putting in this strength training program, or maybe you've got a trainer, like you've hired a trainer or whatever. Next week, is that energy still the same? Are you still motivated, or are you like, oh, this is too hard, or I'm not feeling it, right? You have to find ways to keep that momentum going. Now, Mars will be in Capricorn, like I said, for like a month or so. So I guess throughout January, you're going to be feeling it, right? You're going to be like, yes, it's time for me to do this, that, and the third, and feeling motivated and amped. But again, you're going to have to find ways to keep feeding the fire once Mars leaves Capricorn, okay? Now, one of the other sort of characteristics of Mars in Capricorn is rigidity. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn can be very conservative, very rigid, and very limited. So wherever Capricorn is in your chart, with Mars going in there, this may have you being very conservative, very rigid about whatever area of life Capricorn covers in your chart. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that the word conservative gets a very bad reputation because it does sort of signify limits, right? And not wanting to take risks. even though Mars as a planet, it's all about risk, bold and dynamic risk, and being impulsive. So perhaps with Mars going into Capricorn, that area of life that Capricorn covers in your chart may be an area where you tend to be very conservative, or where you tend to be very rigid, or maybe you tend to rely on tradition. Like, this is how things have always been done, and I'm going to keep doing things that way. With Mars entering Capricorn, it may be like a little bit of a disruption. You may feel a little more impulsive during this transit. You may feel like, let me just try something new. Or, you know what, I'm really feeling excited about this. Let me explore that, right? So this may be a time where you have this interjection of powerful energy, of impulsive energy, wherever Capricorn is in your chart. So use that to your advantage. That's how things are created. Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. It's also one of the ruling planets of Scorpio, but for this example, we'll talk about Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's that bold, dynamic energy. So with Mars going into Capricorn, this may be an area of your life where you start something new in a very impulsive kind of way. And that's great, again, for this time of year, right? This is a time to start new things, although it's in the middle of winter. It may be difficult to start these new things. It may be challenging. The results that you're looking for immediately may not show up right now because of the fact that it is winter and the fact that Capricorn is a sign of limits. Think of Capricorn as like ice, right? It's kind of hard to break out of ice, or if something is stuck in ice, breaking into it, it takes a lot of force, right? That's also the energy of Mars, but it takes determination and perseverance. And that's sort of the energy you need to have right now, because it's great to have these ideas. It's great to have the motivation and the physical energy to achieve these things, but it's ultimately going to be your consistency, patience, determination, and discipline. I know that's a dirty word for some people, right? Discipline, ugh, right? But it's going to take those four things to keep it going. So keep that in mind as Mars enters Capricorn this week, and see what the journey looks like for you. If in a month from now you've made progress, no matter how small, no matter how slow, no matter how minuscule, right? Or if you've scrapped the whole thing and you're just like, this is too hard. Starts right now. The seed that you're planting, the things that you want to work toward, it starts right now. All right, let's keep it moving. All right. And then on Friday, we have the moon moving into Scorpio, and you will see that at the very top of the chart, the moon will be at 0 degrees of Scorpio on Friday. All right. When the moon is in Scorpio, it can be really intense. And with the astrology that's coming up on Saturday, we're sort of going to be feeling by the end of the week in our feelings. Perhaps things like our insecurities and our fears may be coming up, because whenever the moon is in Scorpio, it tends to unearth however we're feeling. And maybe not so much on a major scale or in a major sort of way. That really depends on what's going on in your particular chart as it pertains to the moon in Scorpio. Like, for instance, if you have, like, let's say Venus in Scorpio, with the moon going into Scorpio, it will activate your Venus in Scorpio, which may mean that when it comes to relationships, when it comes to money, those repressed emotions, those trauma, those wounds may kind of come up, right? So we tend to be in our feelings. We tend to be a little sensitive. We tend to be introspective. And sometimes there's this element of, I'm not going to say fighting when it comes to moon and Scorpio, but I will say it's like an inner battle that sometimes gets waged within us, because we've got, okay, perfect example. I just gave you the example of Venus and Scorpio, right? With love and money. I mentioned before, like, maybe this is the year that you really want to get your debt under control, right? Or maybe you want to start making more money. Those are very Venusian kind of themes. But that moon in Scorpio is going to bring up all of the times where maybe you've had issues getting a job, or maybe your ideas and beliefs about money are contradictory to this new idea that you have, this goal that you have when it comes to money. And that can sort of wage a war within us. We want to move forward, But it's like our past is dragging us back. We're feeling the same things we felt in the past, whether it's disappointment, whether it's anger, whether it's rage, whether it's frustration when it comes to that particular topic. And so you're like, I want to move forward, but I don't necessarily know how, because I'm still holding on to, you know, a lack mentality, fear of success. That can be something that can stand in your way of making more money, right? And so this is where we purge. This is where we engage in shadow work. Whenever the moon is in Scorpio, it is the perfect time to engage in shadow work, meaning, what are you still holding on to emotionally? What are your wounds with respect to, love, money, friendship, whatever? It all depends on where this is going down in your chart. And we purge those things. And by purging, it's like you allow yourself to feel how you feel about these things. Emotions are meant to be felt, right? It's sort of it. I believe that they say it's energy in motion. If you stifle your emotions, they get stuck within your body. So when the moon is in Scorpio, it's an invitation for you to allow yourself to feel how you feel about certain things, whether it's anger, disappointment, rage, sadness, depression even, so that those can come up and that they can dissipate, right? That's why when the moon is in Scorpio, shit can get real intense. Allow it to, right? We're also in the waning crescent phase, right? Because we are making our way to the new moon in Capricorn, which is going down next week. This is purging. This is the time to purge. This is the time to not only get rid of what no longer serves you, but it's about surrender and reflection. And when the moon is in Scorpio, we have the opportunity to do this. So it would behoove you. I'm not saying that you got to spend the whole day in meditation or you have to spend countless hours doing shadow work, but literally be intentional about carving out some time to figure out what is standing in the way of me having what it is that I want. What emotional baggage am I holding on to? What do I still resent? What am I still afraid of? Even if it's 20 minutes or a half hour. Definitely on Friday, you'll want to do this. Spend some time digging deep within this, under the surface, allowing those repressed emotions to see the light of day so they can finally come up, leave, and so that you can finally be rid of the things that are standing in the way of that dream, that goal, that aspiration that you have. All right. Intense, but necessary as always, right? All right, let's keep it moving. All right. And then on Saturday, we've got the Sun square Chiron. So this is going to be another sort of transit that may have us in our feelings. And I sort of alluded to this when I was talking about the moon in Scorpio. So you will see the sun at the mid left-hand portion of the chart. It will be at 15 degrees of Capricorn. And then at the bottom of the chart in green, that green key looking thing is Chiron, and it will be at 15 degrees of Aries. All right. And if you want to know more about Chiron, I did a video dedicated to what Chiron is and what it means in your chart. I'll be sure to link it in the description box below, but you should definitely check it out because Chiron, it's no coincidence that Chiron, the symbol for Chiron, looks like a key. It's literally the key that unlocks you, like unlocks who you truly are. It requires some emotional work, right? But what doesn't on the spiritual journey? So if you want to know more about Chiron, I'll leave the link to that in the description box below so you can check it out. But regardless, Sun square Chiron. Sun represents our expression, our self-expression specifically. It represents who you are. It represents your personality, right? Your ability to stand out as an individual, to uniquely express yourself. And Chiron represents our insecurities and our wounds. It's like your emotional Achilles heel. So when we have this kind of transit of Sun square Chiron, it can really manifest as you sort of wanting to express yourself, wanting to stand out, but your insecurity is kind of holding you back. Maybe there's a certain place in your life where you want to stand out as a leader or as an authority figure. And this will definitely be the case with the sun in Capricorn. Sun in Capricorn represents authority figures. It represents experts, right? And maybe there's a certain area in your life where you feel this way, or you aspire to be an expert or a leader in some sort of way, or an authority figure. Chiron is that Achilles heel, right? It sort of reminds you of why you shouldn't stand out, why you shouldn't shine, right? The sun is all about shining. The sun shines regardless. But Chiron might be like, I don't want to shine too brightly. Or the last time I expressed myself, I was met with resistance or I was met with ridicule, and I don't want to necessarily do that again. Sun and Chiron may bring up situations or even opportunities that may be disguised as situations that require you to stand out, but that require you also to work past those insecurities when it comes to standing out, when it comes to expressing yourself. And with the moon in Scorpio, you're really going to be feeling this. Maybe you feel like, oh, I don't have a problem standing out. I don't have a problem expressing myself. But maybe there's something in your childhood that you completely forgot about. That moon in Scorpio was going to scoop that up and bring it to the surface. Maybe something that you haven't dealt with in the longest time may present itself as a situation, an external situation. Maybe someone reminds you of someone who ridiculed you when you were a child. Or maybe this is a situation where you don't like public speaking, but now you're being forced to speak, maybe at a presentation for work or maybe in your business or something like that. Like I said, this is about standing as a leader, standing in your authentic self, shining as you truly are, and overcoming those insecurities and those wounds that may prevent you from doing so. And again, that moon in Scorpio is going to drudge up all of the stuff you've been holding on to that may be preventing you from doing so, right? This is overcoming fears, overcoming anxieties, overcoming worries. And I'm using the word overcome very intentionally because what ends up happening is that we're presented with situations and those fears and insecurities come up and we cower. We dim our light. We say, no, that's not for me. That's not meant for me, or I can't do this. That Chiron energy, remember I said it's the key. It's the key that unlocks who you really are. Overcoming those fears and insecurities, that's like the cheat code to the next level. And so once you overcome it, you're good. You can move on to the next level. You can elevate, right? And elevate to a place where you are who you truly are. And you can shine in the way that only you can, in your uniqueness, right? Again, it's like the cheat code. So you got to overcome these things. You got to face them first. With the sun being in Capricorn, like it's going to hit you hard like a ton of bricks, perhaps. It's going to be very much in your face, very real, right? Those fears are going to feel real too. Those worries are going to feel very real. Those insecurities are going to feel very real as well. But if you overcome them, it'll unlock doors that may have been locked for a long time, or doors you didn't even know existed, right? Working with Chiron literally is the key to unlocking the next version of yourself, the 2.0 version of yourself. And you're going to have ample opportunity to do that this week between Friday and Saturday, if not for most of the week, to be honest. So I want you to understand the energy dynamic of this week so far. We have the ability to move forward with Mercury going direct in Sagittarius. We've got the vision, right? We've got the goal. We've got the aspiration. We've got Venus square Saturn, which may delay things, present challenges to us, right? But ultimately, that's to build character. Then we've got the moon moving into Libra, which is like, all right, who can I bring on my team with me to help me realize this vision, right? Or whose team can I be a part of so that we can all achieve things together? Then we've got Mars moving into Capricorn, which is like, all right, like I'm ready to get to work. I'm ready to put in this work, roll up my sleeves, get to work and do what I need to do to achieve this goal. Then come the end of the week, it's time for us to be a little introspective, and it's time for us to really dig deep within us and be like, all right, what am I holding on to emotionally that's stopping me from not only moving forward, but from shining, from being my authentic self, or from standing up and being a leader or being an authority figure? It's going to be a little introspective, right? And then we move on to Sunday. Then we move on to Sunday with the moon moving into Sagittarius, all right? And so you will see that at the right-hand portion of the chart with the moon at 0 degrees of Sagittarius. And so with everything that I just said, moon in Sagittarius is going to have us feeling hopeful, just like Mercury in Sagittarius, right? That I mentioned that originally, transpired yesterday on the 1st of the year. The moon in Sagittarius is going to have us feeling hopeful. Our minds are on the prize, right? That's Mercury in Sagittarius. We have our mind set fixed on the future in a hopeful sort of way. And the moon in Sagittarius is like now your emotions are going to be on board as well. So midweek to Saturday, you may feel like you're going through it. You may feel like, okay, I'm battling myself, like I mentioned before. And then we close out the week with the moon in Sagittarius, feeling hopeful, feeling like, all right, I can do this. I don't think it's going to be a cataclysmic week where it's like, again, it depends on what's going down in your particular chart, of course. I always say that. But it's going to be a week where you kind of have to discover who you are, what you're holding on to, what you need to let go of. But ultimately, you're going to feel hopeful about where you're going. And where you're going, you got to travel light. You can't have all of this resentment, anger, rage that's unprocessed, that's just sitting either in your physical body or your emotional body or even your etheric body, collecting dust, metastasizing even, right? You can't, where you're going, you can't bring that with you. And, the astrology gives us these pockets of energy where we can deal with these things, such as when the moon is in Scorpio and when we've got Sun square Chiron on Saturday. It gives you the opportunity to process this so that you don't have to spend 2 weeks. I mean, sometimes life is like that, and we do spend an extended amount of time going through these really tough emotions or tough situations. But if you use the energy for what it presents to you, you can start doing this healing in little pockets of time as nature intends it, as nature gives you the opportunity to do so. And that's when you start building, and that's when you start working on yourself and moving forward, right? Keeping the vision and traveling light, getting rid of what you no longer need, to move forward toward that goal or aspiration. And so we have a mixed bag in terms of the energy this week. We've got our eyes on the prize, but we've got some work to do as well, right? But that's life sometimes, right? But it's a great way to start off a new month and a new year if you will use the energy for what it's there for. All right. So that is the week in a nutshell in terms of the astrology. And of course, now we're going to get into some messages from Spirit. All right, so as always, I'm going to be pulling some cards so we get some messages from Spirit. I do this by sign, but whatever message is for you is for you. It could be your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, your Jupiter, your North Node. If it is your message, it is your message. All right, so let's get into it. As always, first, we will start with Aries. So let's see what Aries has going on for this week. All right, Aries, we've got the Knight of Wands. All right. And this is very much emblematic of Aries energy. I feel like you guys are really going to be in your feelings this week, but not like overly sensitive. I feel like you're going to feel extra amped and extra impulsive. I feel like even your emotions may feel a little erratic, a little fired up this week. And that's a good thing because that is the fire of creation. It's very much the energy signature of Aries. So I feel like many of you will be feeling yourselves, feeling like yourselves, and feeling like you really want to start some shit this week, okay? Now, keep in mind, your over exuberance, for some of you, you may be feeling extra confident. For others of you, you may just be feeling really fired up and motivated. Understand that not everyone is feeling this way. And so maybe you've got your group of people, your friends, your family, whatever, and you're like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And everyone's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't want to. Or I'm not feeling it. Or maybe they're just wrapped up in their own stuff. That could cause some friction. It could cause maybe even a little bit of conflict, right? So be mindful of how you are. I'm not saying to dim your light by any means necessary, but just understand that everyone may not be on your level. You may be on a 10 this week and everyone else is on like a 4. So be mindful of that, right? And it may have you feeling very combative. Like I said, I feel like this is a week where you're really going to be in your feelings. And so someone's rejection of your exuberance may have you wanting to fight, may have you wanting to exchange words, right? So just be mindful of that. But use this energy to create something new this week. You're literally on fire. So create something with this glorious fire energy. All right. All right. Next up, we've got Taurus. Let's see what we've got for Taurus for this week. Taurus, I love this for you. We've got the Magician. Taurus, you have all of the tools at your disposal this week. You may be feeling very powerful this week, very determined and very driven. And it's like I'm hearing the Midas touch. I wanted to say the magical touch, but I'm being told the Midas touch. Whatever you want can truly come to fruition. You just have to be able to be a little riskier this week. You guys tend to be, Taurus is a fixed sign, and y'all know that Taurus is symbolized by the bull. So moving in a new direction can take a lot of energy, a lot of effort for you. But if you're willing to do that, I feel like this is the energy that you're sitting in this week, this energy of being able to create whatever you want. It's almost like the world is your oyster this week, but you have to be willing to tap into your own magic and actually use it, right? So I feel like this could be a really magical week for you. This could be a week where you even start to understand your magic a little more. You start to understand the power that you have to create what it is that you want. So you may be feeling optimistic, hopeful, and very magical and determined. So again, just like Aries, you got to use this energy though. Don't just sit on it and be like, oh, this would be nice. Do the shit that needs to get you the shit that you want. All right. I feel like this is the week where you can actually start to make that happen. All right. Next up, we've got Gemini. Let's see what we have for Gemini for this week. All right, Gemini, we've got the Two of Cups. So there is this energy of relationships this week. And with that moon in Libra going down today, right, for the next 2 days, I feel like you guys are either feeling amorous or there's just a relationship that's being emphasized this week. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It could be any sort of relationship, but the feelings associated with this relationship are going to be coming into focus this week. I also feel like you and your partner may be plugged into each other this week, literally or figuratively. Take it as it resonates. But perhaps really feeling your partner, really feeling the emotions present in your relationship. So I feel like it's going to be perhaps an emotional week, but perhaps in a good way, really feeling togetherness, feeling coupled, feeling all the feelings, all right, when it comes to your relationships. All right. Next up, we've got Cancer. Let's see what we've got for Cancer for this week. Cancer, we've got the Seven of Swords. There's something going on that you are not privy to at this time. I feel like something's going on behind the scenes. Perhaps someone is trying to get away with something, or maybe you're trying to get away with something without letting people know. There's this energy of secrecy this week that, maybe you're trying to keep something under wraps. Maybe this may be a time when you're being very tight-lipped about what your goals, aspirations, and plans are. Maybe you're making plans behind the scenes without people really knowing. It's this energy of defensiveness that I'm getting with you guys. Like, you don't want people fucking up your plans. You don't want people stirring the pot when it comes to what you're trying to do. So you're kind of doing things in secret. You're kind of doing things, I don't want to say behind people's back, but you're not letting too many people know what you're doing. But it's more so like protection. It's like you've planted this seed or these seeds, and you don't want people messing with it. You don't want people fussing with it or tampering with it. So you're being tight-lipped. And I like that for you, Cancer. I feel like whatever this is that you're being secret about is probably something very major, which is why you don't want too many people's hands and energy into it, right? So there's nothing wrong with this, right? But perhaps for some people, like I said, the moon in Libra, it shows us where maybe we need assistance or maybe where we can put a team together. I feel like whatever you're working on, it's like a need to know basis, right? So the people that can help you, maybe they need to know a little bit of what you're doing, maybe not all of it. But it may serve you to be a little tight-lipped and very protective of what you're working on this week and maybe throughout the month or even the year. All right. All right. Next up, we've got Leo. Let's see what we've got for Leo for this week. Oops. Not gonna take that one. All right. Let's try this again. Let's see what we have for Leo for this week. Leo, you've got two. We've got the Chariot and we've got the Page of Wands. So you guys are also feeling very motivated to move forward this week. Okay. You guys are feeling very confident. There's something about this energy that feels very show offy. Like some of you definitely want to be noticed or put yourselves out there. So I'm getting like for some of you, this is like really putting yourself out there on social media, especially if you're like a business owner. I feel like this is going to be the week where you really express yourself, let people know what you're doing. Like you want all the attention on you this week. You want to see people. Oh, okay. There's something I just got, but let me finish my thought. You want people to see you moving. For some of you, this is like a revenge thing. There may be someone that you want someone to see you living your best life. You want someone to be a little envious of you. Or maybe you're just trying to get somebody's attention. You want them to see how you've moved on or maybe how you're moving right now. Maybe you want someone who said, oh, you can't do this. You want them to see you doing it. Or maybe you've got an ex and you just want to spark their attention and be like, oh, look at what you're missing out on, right? Like, I feel like there's a little twinge of revenge energy when it comes to that. But by and large, this is going to be the week where you definitely want to express yourself, let people know who you are, what you're doing. And let people know that you're working on something or that you're moving towards something. I feel like people can definitely like get in line with what you're doing. Like I feel like if you need supporters, if you need people to get on board with what you're doing, I feel like this is going to be the week where if you will put yourself out there and let people know what you are doing, that you will find support, that you will find people to assist you and sort of help you to get to where you need to be. All right. Okay. Next up, we've got Virgo. Let's see what we've got for Virgo for this week. Virgo, we've got the Three of Swords. Okay. So there may be a situation this week that either feels heartbreaking or that reminds you of a heartbreaking situation that you went through. So I feel like by the end of the week, you know, when I was talking about that moon in Scorpio and sun square Chiron, I feel like it may trigger you in terms of, you know, things not going the way that you want them to go, or maybe you are forced to confront perhaps some anger, perhaps some heartbreak, maybe even some situations in past relationships that broke your heart. It's time for you to work through that this week, okay? So it may be a week that feels slow going. And I know you, right? You like to be on a routine, be on a schedule. Perhaps you've planned out what this week is going to be like for you. And I feel like this emotional turmoil may sort of put a monkey wrench in those plans. It may have you veering off from your routine a little bit. And I know how frustrating that can be. I'm a Virgo sun and I hate when I have a routine and it gets disrupted, right? But this is important work that you need to do. This may be getting like, I feel like it's something that's going to trigger you in terms of like thinking about heartbreak. And you may feel like you're processing by thinking about it, but you kind of have to go deeper. It's not just about thinking about past situations that broke your heart, or even if there's a current situation that doesn't feel too good to you, mentally processing it is not the entirety of the work. The work is feeling what these thoughts make you feel. All right. So this may be a week that doesn't necessarily feel the best, but it's work that is important in order for you to move forward successfully. Okay. Next up, we've got Libra. Let's see what we have for Libra for this week. Libra, we've got the Queen of Wands. All right. So this is definitely giving confidence. It's definitely giving royalty. It's definitely giving sovereignty. Some of you may have this renewed sense of self this week, like really understanding who you are and being very convicted and confident in who you are. Sort of like not taking shit from anybody, being very self-assured, not letting anyone influence how you feel about yourself. I get the sense that this is a week that's very self-centered and not in a bad way, but just really focusing on who you are and the confidence to be who you truly are. Now, understand, like, I'm feeling this like ruffling feathers kind of energy, like perhaps expressing yourself, almost like I'm getting the image of like a peacock, right? And showing your plumage, like really expressing yourself. I'm seeing or hearing like ruffling some people's feathers, but I really feel like you're at a point where you don't give a shit. Like, I feel like you're very much like, well, this is who I am. This is what I want. Yeah, I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care what you think about it. Like, I'm just doing me right now. So this is a week that's very self-centered. And I feel like the best use of this energy is figuring out, like, obviously you're figuring out who you are, like at your core and your authentic self. But now that authentic self, what is in alignment with that authentic self? What is it that you truly want? What is it that you truly desire this week, this month, or this year? Take some time to think about that. And thinking about it from this place or from this state of self-assuredness, from confidence, from conviction in who you are, is the best time to start something, particularly something that you truly desire. So sit in that energy, figure out what you want, and start taking action steps toward those things. Okay. Next up, we've got Scorpio. Let's see what we've got for Scorpio for this week. Scorpio, we've got the Strength card. Yeah, I'm getting this sense of a lot of you are definitely feeling yourselves this week, feeling very confident. Some of you are, and I'm hearing like you're a little too loud. And that's not to say that you need to not express yourself, but look at the imagery on this card, this lion, like with its mouth wide open. Again, it's not that you shouldn't express yourself. It's that, is your expression encroaching on someone else? And it's not to say, again, that you should dim your light, or that you shouldn't speak your piece or say what you need to say. But there's a difference between speaking your piece and like shouting in someone's face. And Spirit is like, be mindful of that this week. You can express yourself, but you don't have to tear someone else down to do it. That's the way that this was coming in, was very jumbled. It's like, that's what it is. Like, expressing yourself, speaking your piece, saying what you need to say is fine. But are you hurting someone to do that? And again, maybe this person needs that. Maybe that's the agreement that you have with this person, karmically speaking, right? But be mindful of roaring in someone's face, or maybe even scaring someone, right? Imagine you're someplace and a roaring lion is charging at you, right? That may cause a lot of anxiety and fear, right? Maybe what you're saying is causing someone anxiety, or is hurting them, or is making them fearful. It's not to say that, again, you can't speak your piece, but be mindful of how you are speaking your piece, how you're saying what you're saying, and what effect that's going to have on somebody, particularly if it's someone that you care about, right? Maybe you want to temper what you're saying because you care about this person. You don't want them to be afraid of you, or you don't want them to be anxious or sad or something like that, right? So this is the energy that you're in. But again, this is also a great energy to start something new, or continue to do what you're doing, and do it in a way that's in alignment with who you truly are and what you truly want. All right. All right. Next up, we've got Sagittarius. Let's see what we've got for Sagittarius for this week. Sagittarius, we've got the Tower card. So something very surprising is going to transpire this week. And I get the sense that it is, it may be something that you're seeing. This may not be your particular tower moment, but there's a tower moment around you, right? And I feel like this tower moment is like, okay, the way it's being explained to me is you and someone else may be involved in the same thing, or have similar stories, or you do a similar thing, right? And their shit completely falls apart. And you're like, oh no, like, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to me. So what do I need to change? It's almost like learning from someone else's mistake or someone else's situation. Now, don't be a dick about this, right? Like, especially if this is someone that you care about, don't just be like, oh my God, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me. Like, be mindful of the fact that maybe someone that you care about is going through a tower moment, but it's a lesson for everyone involved, or even everyone around this person. So figure out what that lesson is. What is it showing you? Where can you tweak what you're doing so that you don't experience a tower moment, right? But again, be mindful of the person that's going through it. Maybe even be a little compassionate. Again, don't just be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me. Like, try not to make the person feel worse about what they're going through. But there's a lesson in this for you to glean, right? And it may be surprising. It may have you very anxious, feeling like, oh my gosh, is the other shoe going to drop for me? Not necessarily, if you're willing to make some adjustments. All right. So keep that in mind for this week. All right. Next up, we've got Capricorn. Let's see what we've got for Capricorn for this week. Capricorn, we've got the 9 of Swords. You guys are feeling very stressed out about something. I'm hearing take a nap. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel, especially mentally, overwhelmed, overexerted, mentally exhausted, take a nap. Even if it's for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that nap will refresh you and sort of reset your mind so you can think about this issue more clearly. There's a problem that you're trying to solve. There's an obstacle that you're trying to overcome. And the more you think about it, the least likely you are to come up with a solution. So just take a nap, take a rest, or have some sort of mental, I don't want to say diversion, I don't want to say distraction, but do something to take your mind off of this issue, something that has nothing to do with this issue. If it's people that you're involved with, or if this issue involves other people, like maybe perhaps this is a time to isolate yourself a little bit. And this has everything to do with Venus square Saturn. Maybe your issue is with family. Maybe your issue is with relationships or friends, people that are close to you. And maybe they're leaning on you for something. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's emotional. And it's just overwhelming you. Maybe a little distance from them for a little bit so that you can get your mind right about the situation would definitely help. Now, if this person really needs assistance, like don't just be like, forget you. Like, I'm not going to help you out. Like, help to the extent that you can, but maybe a little emotional or maybe even physical distance may give you the clarity and sort of the calmness that you need to ultimately resolve this issue or this problem. Okay. Next up, we've got Aquarius. Let's see what we've got for Aquarius for this week. Aquarius, we've got the 7 of Pentacles. This is the seeds well planted card. So I get the sense that you are going to start to see the fruit of your labor coming to fruition this week. I'm getting like it could be like some more money that's coming to you. It could be like maybe you've been working on a project for a while and you're starting to see it come to fruition. Maybe you're reaching an important milestone in the journey of whatever it is that you've been working on. And so the advice this week is just keep doing what you're doing. Even if you start to see some more money coming in, this isn't your sign to stop. Or maybe you're seeing something start to come together. This isn't your time to be like, oh, well, I don't need to do anything anymore, because see, things are coming together. There's still work that needs to be done. But I feel like this is the week when you're going to start to see that work and the rewards from that work materialize. So keep going. You are on the right track. Okay. And last, but certainly not least, we've got Pisces. So let's see what we've got for Pisces for this week. Okay, Pisces, I shuffled. You guys got the same card, although the energy is not exactly the same. This is the week where you're going to want to plant seeds of longevity. This is the week when you're going to want to initiate a long-term goal or something that's going to take time to blossom. You're going to want to start to put in the work this week. And I feel like Mars going into Capricorn is really going to help you out with that. So you specifically, Pisces, you're going to want to look to where Capricorn is in your chart. And for instance, if you are a Pisces rising, Capricorn is your 11th house. Your 11th house has to do with friends, but it also has to do with goals and ambitions. So whatever goal and ambitions that you have, this is the week where you're going to want to plant the seed. Understand that this goal is going to take time. And when I say goal, I mean a big goal. I'm not talking about, okay, I want to do this week or whatever. I'm talking about something big, something that you really want out of life. This is going to be the week where you plant those seeds. So get serious. Get serious, get motivated, be willing to roll up your sleeves and put in that work, because you're going to look back in a couple of months, hopefully, if you heed my advice, and you're going to be like, I remember when I started this in January. Look where I am now, right? This is the week where you make that happen. All right. All right, my love. So that concludes this edition of the weekly Astro Forecast. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going into this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy New Year. And I will see you in my next broadcast. All right, my loves. Have an amazing week and take care.